Hello, English-speaking friends. This is an explanation to you all about the 5 previous videos. The last one of those 5, I am showing you the back side of the straps of the Viking dress, which would probably be the methods that were used, because the Viking dress necessarily would have been worn during the day, working day of ordinary women, and so the attachments on the back would need to be a lot stronger. And since the Viking burial graves do not show what the Viking dress looked like on the back, then we would have to go to the living tradition to see how they managed this. Because these kind of dresses that are based on straps like this, we still have them. It's a long tradition, unbroken tradition, goes all the way back to the Viking Age and before that also. And we find this living today because it has been preserved in those same valleys where the music also has been preserved from several thousands of years. And that is because those are valleys that were so isolated, so it was possible for people to keep their traditions. And so we have a lot to learn from people in those valleys. How they do the handcraft, how they do the attachments, and how they made this dress work in daily life when you had to breastfeed, when you had to work and bend down and do a lot of things. And so, probably they had an opening in the front. Also, the garments that you have under the woolen dress also would have to have an opening in the front so that you could breastfeed, of course. So, for the shirts underneath, that has not been known very much from the burial founds from the Viking Age. But we know from the living tradition that yes, they did have a white undergarment going all the way down as long as the dress. Yes, we still have that in living tradition. On top of that, the white thing that you see, the white shirt that you see under the woolen dress, that is not the undergarment. That is a shirt. That is an undershirt. We call it an undershirt because it's a shirt you keep under the woolen dress. But that doesn't have to be white. It can be any color and it can be woolen. It just depends on how warm you need it to be and what preference you have and what you have available. So that is one of the other of the previous videos that I showed. And for certain, the way they cut it and stitch it together, yes, we know that from the typical Viking patterns for sewing those shirts. Then the outer shirt could have an opening like for a jacket. And still it's the same way of cutting the fabric. So then I have commented 2 of those 5 previous videos. Another very interesting of those previous videos is the mindset around the fabric. Because the most difficult for people to attain was a lot of fabric. That means if you see some of the male trousers, they would be balloon trousers, we could call it, requiring lots and lots and lots and lots of meters of fabric. Meaning, this man would have to be very rich to get all that fabric. Very rich in order to have so many people under him who could make him all this fabric. The same is for the dresses. So the wider the dress, the higher the status of your position in society. So for those people who didn't have so much, they had narrow dresses. Of course, this also pertains to the Viking era. So if you want to look like a queen, you need to have very wide dresses. One thing that we found in the Viking burial graves was that the fabric was pleated like crepe. And there has been a question how they used it. Well, going to the living traditions of today, we can see how they used it. For one thing is that they pleated on every side of the chest for the front, and for the back, they pleated all the way back. All the way on the back, they pleated. They could pleat just this much or this much, like a beginning, which would help the dress to be very wide further down, But like in one of the traditions, they have this pleating all the way back, all the way down. On the back, they have it all the way down. The whole back side of the dress is pleated. That is very expensive work because it takes a lot of time and also a lot of coloring because that one is black. So that also means status. So then, why on the back? We can see that on many of the different parts of the way of dressing that it was necessary to look beautiful on the back. So also, when we talk about how the strings were attached on the back, they made it beautiful. You see that on the video, some examples. So then, the wider the dress, the higher the status. When it comes to embroidery, they didn't necessarily use embroidery, but they did also. From the Viking graves, we know that they actually used anything. If they had a little piece of silk, a little piece of velvet or whatever. They could put it on anywhere. And nothing of this kind of decoration would have to be according to the neighbor or the other ones in the society. It was optional. It was a lot of varieties to be found. And the embroidery also was very varied. So when we look at those dresses that are still in use today, some of them have been changed with embroidery that were not used before, that they have replaced the silk and velvet and such things, whatever they could find, with embroidery. And it has become very standardized. It was not like that. It was never standardized before. When these clothes were used daily in a living tradition, it was never standardized. What was standard, what was usually used, was these string dresses and the smart ways of attaching the width and also the very broad lining down on the bottom of the skirt with some beautiful colors or whatever. And so one of the videos I showed you how they dressed, what they had on top of each other, many dresses on top of each other, and it was necessary that the dress underneath would show on top and on the bottom, because whatever you had made with handcraft and jewelry on the one underneath would have to show on top, besides the dress that you put on top. So I hope this could be inspiring and give some solutions how to fix your Viking dress in a way that would be more functional. And for sure, you can rely on traditions for handcrafts and a lot more to find if you want to dig in. This is living tradition in valleys that has kept this concentrated and pure from even before the Viking times. So please like, share and subscribe, and thank you for comments. Bye bye.